Welcome to the Eye of the Observer podcast, the podcast of the Observer news staff. On Eye of the Observer, we'll be interviewing the newsmakers and fascinating personalities at Elgin Community College, or sometimes we'll be talking about news or cultural topics among ourselves to inform and entertain you. My name is Vanj.
I'm Eric.
I'm Matt.
And today's podcast is sponsored by Columbia College of Missouri. Begin a new chapter at Columbia College of Missouri in Elgin, offering flexible, affordable degrees for real lives and real responsibilities. Located locally on the ECC campus, you can take classes in person or online, all at your own pace. Apply today at elgin.ccis.edu. Columbia College, building new paths to success.
Today on the podcast, we have Ryan Kolbusz, who is the student trustee for the student body at Elgin Community College. We are going to interview him a little bit about his process of becoming student trustee and his day-to-day life and where he is today. So, Ryan, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, first I just want to thank you all for inviting me to be on the podcast. It's good to be here, and I'm excited to share some things about me so more students at ECC can kind of familiarize themselves with the student trustee here.
All right, so Ryan, here at Student Life, you're a part of a club called Student Government, and I was wondering if you can inform us exactly what student government does, or what are they, who are the officers, and what they do in general.
Yeah, so student government, it's the governing club of the student body. We hold meetings every other Wednesday for all the clubs to come report to us what they're doing. We also report on events that are happening at the college. Some of the officers, the student body president, Victor Sinisi. The student body executive vice president is Adrian Navarez. Brenda Rohel, she is the executive treasurer. And Angelica Palomar, she is the the secretary of the club as well. So at the meetings, basically, Angelica will lead them, and then each of us will have Angelica will lead them as far as the slideshow presentation, and then we'll have our executive reports, and I'll talk kind of about that in a little bit as far as my board of trustees report. And that's kind of just how the meetings go. They're pretty relaxed. We have snacks. It's a good time for clubs to kind of even meet each other and maybe even like do some collabs with each other as well.
That's basically what student government does, right? With respect to all the other roles, what does your role do? What does student trustee do?
Yeah, so specifically, the student trustee works with the board of trustees. So the board of trustees is the governing body of the entire school. So there's 7 trustees that are elected from throughout the 509 community, and I serve on the board with them. So my job is to be a liaison, which kind of goes between student government and the board of trustees to report what the student body is doing, as well as report on any issues that may arise as well to the Board of Trustees so they can address it, or to Dr. Sam, the president, so he can possibly address those issues as well. That's kind of my main role. And then in student government, we also have, I have my office hours, so I'll have to be in the office for 2 hours each week. That's kind of more the student government side, but I mostly focus on the board, and I come from the board and report back to student government and the students.
Okay, so how'd you become involved with student government?
Yeah,
and
so
how'd you become a student trustee? My bad.
No, you're fine. I started working here in October of last year, so fall of 2022. And I really wasn't always involved in any clubs, events on campus. I kind of just came to school, I attended my classes, I went home, but I got the job at First Stop in Building A, and that job kind of forced me to interact with other people. Basically, the student worker at First Stop helps students register for the classes. They answer any questions, like where things are in the building. I also answer the phone. So I've really had an opportunity to interact and make relationships with students, and I really found that I had a passion for students at ECC. So then in February of 2023 this year, the previous student trustee, Allison McVeigh, let me know about the possibility of running for student trustee. And I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to do it. I kind of thought it was a lot. Would I be good? Kind of all those normal questions that everyone asks themselves. But then I got a lot of encouragement from her, my family, my coworkers, some students, so I gave it a shot. And I ran for the position, and I ended up winning. So that's kind of my backstory that kind of made me want to get into this role. I also wanted to challenge myself and try something new, always go out of your comfort zone as well.
Okay, so how would you describe your campaign process? Would you say it was really hard, like marketing or whatnot?
Yeah, I wasn't too afraid about it. I've never ran a campaign, so I guess I was a little nervous. But we had a meeting, and all the people running for student government positions were there, and we had a presentation on like what campaign would look like. So what I did is I printed out pictures of myself, and then there was a QR code on how to vote. So I kind of went around and put it in a couple places, and then I also went around to all my classes. I made sure to go to my classes, and I told them about me running, why I was running, and just asked for their vote. So I kind of got out the vote that way. And then also the Party at the Polls event, where all the student government people that were running for the positions were able to meet with any people that wanted to find more out about them. So that kind of was the campaign process. It wasn't too difficult. It actually helped me because I was able to get better with talking with other students. So I thought it was a big plus for me.
Would you say it was like overwhelming at some points though, like during your campaign, because you had so much people just come up to you, especially during Party of the Polls?
Yeah, I would say that was a little overwhelming. I'd say the Party of the Polls, because at that time I wasn't fully comfortable with always just talking with like new students that you never met. It's always an awkward thing, and you don't want them to think badly about you. So I did have that stress, but especially after that, I've really overcome that and moved forward.
I just want to add a question here. So after you became student trustee, what did you do the summer before you actually had your term?
Yeah, the term actually started in April. I actually got sworn in April. But,
Okay.
But get what you're saying, like where actually students were back on campus here in August. I got sworn in April at the board meeting, April 11th, I think it was. And over the summer, there wasn't much to do besides a couple board meetings. So I used those as an opportunity to acquaint myself with the position and with the people that I was working with. So now I can go full steam ahead as the trustee when school has started. I did have a couple events that I went to, a trip to Normal, Illinois. Learned a lot of things there. It was the ICCTA, which is the Association for Community College Trustees, and there was a banquet, there was training, that was helpful. So that's kind of how I spent my summer before becoming trustee. And also I talked with Dr. Sam, got acquainted with him and some of the other administrators here at the school, and now I have pretty good relationships with everyone that I'm working with.
That's awesome. I'm glad you got prepped before such a big job and that you have a good relationship with everyone on the board. That's really good that you went to that banquet as well.
So, out of all the roles, why did you choose this specific role?
I chose this specific role because I thought I could affect change on campus and be there for other students. I think being part of the student government, especially on the board of trustees, I'm able to bring issues that students may not get to express to other people. And, student government can fix some issues as well, but really it's the board of trustees that can affect the change needed. And I thought that was something that I really wanted to be a part of.
So like you're like the voice for students, correct?
Exactly.
So, what's your favorite part about the role?
I would have to say the favorite part about the role is the interaction between students and also knowing that I'm affecting positive change and being a positive voice here on campus. Students are coming up to me now and just asking me questions. Oh, you're the student trustee. And it's cool that they notice because I really do put a lot of effort and time into this to be a good trustee for the students. I also love going to the board meetings. I say always that the board meetings are something that people always think are like, oh, it's taboo. But I really enjoy going and reporting on student events. So every board meeting, which happens once a month at the second Tuesday of the month, I get to go and report on the student events that are happening. So for example, we just had the Women in Politics event today. So next board meeting, I'm going to go report what happened, how the students felt about this, and just really sharing what students are doing, because it's always important for the trustees to know that, because ultimately what we do on the board affects students and it's all for the student body.
So with you being the voice of students, would you say have you guys encountered something that's been in air quotes harming the students, if that makes sense? Sometimes you guys are want to speak about.
At this point, I wouldn't say there's anything that's harmful per se, because this board really works well together. We all have the same focus of student success and delivering for the students. But there have been a couple minor things that students have brought up, nothing harmful, but just ways to improve student life here on campus. And I'll explain a couple of those. For example, we have international students here on campus represented many different countries, and they unfortunately pay the highest tuition rate out of all students out of district or in district, and a lot of times they struggle to meet the tuition costs. So what one of the students came up to me and asked was, is it possible if you get a student job on campus, would you get a cheaper tuition rate or an in-district tuition rate? And those are the types of things, smaller things, but that can go a long way, that I have talked with the president about, and he's looking into what we could possibly do with that. So that's just kind of one of the things that's came up, but nothing harmful where the board is going in a totally opposite direction of what it needs to be doing.
So regarding your position, what's an interesting event or situation that stood out to you in your role?
An event that stood out to me was actually over the summer before the school year actually started, and it was that trip down to Normal, Illinois for that banquet, training, awards. and it offered me a lot of knowledge, or gave me a lot of knowledge that I didn't know, as how the community college system works, what the state is doing to help students in Illinois community colleges. And the biggest thing that it showed me or taught me was that you don't have to be the best public person per se to always be in roles like this. It's always about learning and getting better, because there were a lot of trustees there that were first-time trustees, as myself as a student trustee, and they didn't have a lot of experience. They don't know how the role works, but it really doesn't matter as long as you are willing to learn from others and get better every single day. That's what counts. And it's really given me a lot of confidence, because when I started running for trustee, as I said before, I didn't have a lot of prior experience in a lot of like running clubs, organizations. I just had a job that gave me some interactions with people. And so when I came into it, I was nervous that I wasn't going to be good. The students just elected me, but am I going to do a bad job? Am I going to let them down? But going to that event over the summer really showed me that I'm not alone. Everybody's feeling the same thing I am. And now it's giving me the confidence to where I am comfortable in my role. I am comfortable talking with others, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, so it's the first time for anything, right? Especially something like this. It's good that there were others like you when you went over the summer and had those experiences. And I mean, I haven't been to any of the meetings this semester, but I'm sure you're doing great, and so is everyone else. I'm looking forward to a great year, especially since I'm involved in student life as well. I'm just glad that you've seen a different perspective, and I know you're probably not I don't know if you want to bother giving insight on what's different about community colleges, but that perspective is important, and talking to students about that perspective and kind of being a medium between students and the education system is really important. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add, going back to my previous point about the event with being new, we also had other new trustees this year that just got on the board. So it also made me feel more comfortable where I'm not alone there in this with me together. It's just a learning process as well. And yeah, like you were saying about the education system at the state level and how there actually was a bigger funding to community colleges, which is great, because I think personally I feel like this is the best pathway forward education-wise for affordability. Because then I was talking about specifically the international students having a hard time to pay, but it's not just them. It's all students have difficulties paying for college, and having a local community college that really is investing in them is what we need more of.
Agreed.
So one thing to bring up, and we might just divert a little bit from the topic, but back to your campaign. There was a little bit of an issue with your posters. We kept finding them in bathrooms. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I guess someone just put my poster up that I printed out, and I was handing them out as one of my campaign things to get them to vote for me. And I guess they were in favor of me. They liked me to be trustee, so they put it in the bathrooms. Whether that is right or wrong, I didn't tell them hey, go put my poster in a bathroom. That's up to them. And whether it got me more votes, I don't know, but that's all on them. That's nothing that
that's
I
a top
personally.
tier fan right there, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
Yeah, I
put them
think-
in bathrooms too.
I think that's dedication. That shows a lot of dedication from a student.
All right.
Actually, that was going to be my follow-up question. Did you think that this affected, how many votes you got?
It might have. There might have been a couple of people that saw it in there and hey, I'll vote for Ryan. But personally, I think most of the votes I got, I earned myself by going to classrooms and in the hallways.
Oh, you're deserving of the votes, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't just bank on a poster in a bathroom to get me over the top. I really did put a lot of effort into the campaign. Talking with students in my classes, I presented in front of my classes to give them a better understanding of where I was coming from to get the votes. And so if you didn't vote for me, I'm totally fine with that. That's up to whoever they want to vote for. But no, I don't think the poster is what defined the campaign for me at all.
Okay.
So I know you mentioned earlier in the episode that you always go to board meetings and whatnot. What's the setup of these meetings?
Yes, great question. The setup is actually 2 days, second Monday and Tuesday of the month, usually, unless there's something has to be changed. Like in October, the meeting's going to be actually in the third week of the month. So the Monday meeting is called Committee of the Whole. So this meeting has the board. So it's the 7 normal trustees that get elected by the community and myself. There'll be Dr. Sam, the president, the recorder, and then a lot of the cabinet. So the VPs of student teaching, learning, and development. You got the general counsel. You got the VP of business and finance. And then there's also any other administrators or faculty employees of the college that come. Sometimes there's presentations. So like at this last committee of the whole meeting, there was an update from the marketing department on our 75th anniversary plan. We're going to have a big celebration in next semester starting for ECC's 75th birthday. So they were giving us some events that are going to be happening, also giving up some updates on the mascot, how that's coming along. I don't know if everybody knows, but we're going to be redoing our mascot, and we're voting on that now to see which one we're going to actually pick. And just anything important that we're going to be voting on the next day will be brought up, and we can discuss, see if we're going to pull anything from the agenda. And the meeting usually lasts about up to a little over 2 hours usually. And then the Tuesday meeting, which is considered the regular board meeting, that's where anyone from the community can come and, address the board if they have any issues. That's also where we'll have our reports. So I have the student report that I do, and I report on all the events that Student Life is doing. And then I tell what the event is, how many people attended, the things that happen in the event. It also gives an opportunity for trustees to see what events are going to be in the future, and I can tell them, hey, come to this event, because it's always good for the trustees to also attend the events that students are taking part of, because ultimately the trustees are making decisions that are going to affect students, so it's good that students know who the trustees are. And a lot of the trustees do come to the events, like today the Women in Politics, our board chair, was there in attendance. So that's a general setup. The other trustees will have their business reports as well. The foundation report based on what the foundation is doing, how much money they've raised. So it's just a lot of reports, and then we do our consent agenda approval, and that's where we approve the school to buy things for different departments around campus. And those meetings can take upwards about 2 hours. They've been shorter lately, but that's kind of just a general idea of how the meetings are set up. Sometimes they can be tedious, a lot of discussion, but no, I enjoy learning about more things that are happening with the school so I can report at our student government meetings, because like I said, I'm the liaison that delivers that information back to the students, so there's no disconnect as well.
So I got a question about delivering thoughts and ideas from students to the board. So have you ever just had a thought or idea from one student that you told the board about, or do you usually just take it from mass amounts of, like a massive opinion?
Yeah. For me, I've talked with mostly just individual students, and what I like to do is I usually bring it to Dr. Sam's attention, because sometimes it's not always the board that has to fix something. Sometimes he can just go talk with, let's say it was the help desk or the D2L help desk, and I got some complaints where students were not getting callbacks or emails back, and they're having problems with D2L, and he was able to just go talk with them, see what the problem might be, and get it fixed. Others, like the mascot, there was some, I don't know if it was confusion or disagreement about changing the mascot, and there was a petition that was started by students to get signatures to keep Spartacat, our current mascot. So I brought up some questions to the board about if we should change the mascot to something else or keep Spartacat, and that one was something more that I feel that the whole student body might have had an issue with, but most of the stuff has been individual stuff, like I was talking about with the international tuition and in-district tuition rates if they get a job. That was just one student, but it can be applied to all students, because usually when it affects one student, it affects all students, but sometimes the one student is the only one that speaks up about the issue.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So does being student trustee serve as your major?
It actually does not. My major is in accounting. This is something that doesn't apply to my major at all, but I think being in a position like this in student government, any club leader officer position can serve any major well, as far as giving them leadership skills and help them learn, if they have a job, how to be a leader in that position, because ultimately, even as an accountant, I might be leading other people in my department, so having those qualities can help me for that, but doesn't specifically affect me for my major.
How do you balance out your student responsibilities with your student trustee abilities now that you got into your major?
That's a great question. I found out that was one of the hardest parts of adjusting to my new role. I have always been someone that's been organized and had good time management, but having to balance school, and at the end of my spring semester, I had 4 classes. Now I'm in 3 classes. I decided to take a little softer load. My job, I've been working 20 hours a week, and then also all my responsibilities. It did seem like, how is this going to work? How am I going to have enough time to be successful in everything that I'm doing? But one of the things that has helped me is my work at First Stop. My coworkers, they're fantastic. I love them all. They allow me to do homework at work. So
Okay.
when I'm not answering calls, or if I work night shifts too, so where I don't have a lot of people to help, I work on my homework. So when I go home, I'm not having to do a bunch of homework, and I can work on my student report because, like I said, the student report's every month, so I got to start reporting and getting my report together for the next meeting, and it's not always spent on schoolwork. That's one of the things that have helped me a lot. Another one was taking less classes. Less classes means less homework, which means more time. But I think I already had a lot of good organizational skills and time management skills that have benefited me that I already previously had. And it's also not slacking off, not procrastinating. It's an important job, and you always got to be focused. I'm always thinking about what's the next thing I need to do? Who's the next person I need to talk with? Even when I'm not at school, it's always in my mind. It's a big part of my life now.
Okay.
And me always thinking about it helps me keep on track. I also have, the normal things that even just normal students do is just, a calendar, and I put all my events in. Like on this Saturday, I'm going to be going to the gala, so I can't forget to go there. I have a retiree luncheon with the president that he's hosting on Thursday. So, you just get reminders, because you're not perfect. Everybody forgets. So that's a way that helps me stay on track and not forget anything as well. And another thing to add into that is my advisor in student government, Gaia. I can go to her, ask her any questions that I have. And then the person that I contact for anything board related or event related would be Diane Cruz. She's the executive assistant to the president, and she's phenomenal. She answers any questions that I have. She alerts me, hey, did you do this? Don't forget to do this, especially with the board reports, reminders, so I can stay on track that way and have a good contact that has all the information that I may need. Because it can get overwhelming at times, and you're like, wow, where's all this stuff? I have a bunch of emails. I have my student email, my student trustee email, my work email, and it kind of, everything can get lost and jumbled up. So it's always good having people that can help you out.
And isn't student trustee? I remember when looking at the form for applying. Don't you like have about 20 hours a week of responsibilities or something like that?
It is a lot of responsibilities. Just like the student government itself, that aspect of it, because we have our general meetings that takes up an hour every week, and then the other week when it's not the general meetings, it's the assembly meetings, and we're doing a lot of planning. Then I have 2 office hours each week, so that takes up a lot of time. And then the biggest thing for the student trustee, obviously, is going to the board meetings. Those take up 4 or 5 hours each month. And then your board report, because it's not just, hey, this is this event. You really have to go in depth. You got to search for stuff. So I spend a lot of time on Instagram. I follow all the clubs. And what I do is I search through each club that I'm going to be reporting on, and I find pictures that kind of spices up the report. So the report isn't just something that takes an hour, one sit down, and you got it all figured out. It's a continuous process throughout every day, every month, and it does consume, I would say, up to 20 hours. Some weeks it's less, some weeks it could be more, but I guess an average would be about 20.
Okay. And do you find like overwhelming at some points, or like is everything just pretty balanced out and you're like, yeah, I got this?
It's gotten balanced out at this point. Like I said, I have all the dates ready, and I'm very comfortable. A lot of it is comfortability. When you know that you can get stuff done and you're confident in yourself, it'll get done. I haven't been late with any of the trustee reports. I've been able to go to all the meetings, and I've also done a lot of extra stuff like the gala, the foundation gala this Saturday. It's not a required event that the trustee has to go to, but I've made an effort because I've been able to manage my time, and I'm able to go to these extra events that have helped me gain a lot of knowledge and experience. Another big one that has helped me too is the Global Leadership Summit, and that is a global event that actually is hosted. The host site is in South Barrington at the Willow Creek Church, and that's where they invite speakers that have been successful business people. There was the CEO of Intel that was there, and they are basically motivating you as a leader to get better in your own leadership qualities. And that was something, that I didn't have to do, but I found time because I know it's going to benefit me personally, but using that to now benefit the students of ECC in my role. So I've been able to do a lot of things that I never thought I would be able to do just from a time management perspective, because I thought at first it's just going to be too much. I just want to go to the board meetings. I just want to do my only duties. But I found out that I've been able to take a lot more out of this. The effort that you put in and then the time you put in is going to ultimately give you your result that you're looking for. So if you only put a little time in, you're going to just be the trustee, and then your term's going to be over and you're just going to move on. But I'm going to be able to take a lot of things away in my career and moving forward, and I'm really proud that I'm able to do that.
And a big shout out to Ryan for showing up on today's podcast episode.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the invite. I'm glad I was able to share some thoughts and insights about being the student trustee for this academic year at ECC.
Again, thank you so much, Ryan, for showing up on today's podcast episode. And thank you to our listeners, and a big shout out to our sponsor, Columbia College of Missouri. Remember that you can begin a new chapter at Columbia College of Missouri in Elgin, offering flexible, affordable degrees for real lives and real responsibilities. Located locally on the ECC campus, you can take classes in person or online, all at your own pace. Apply today at elgin.ccis.edu. Columbia College, building new paths to success. A massive thank you as well to Indy Wilson, our audio editor. And to learn more about The Observer and to see our work, visit elginobserver.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Observer Newspaper and on TikTok at Elgin Observer. Until next time, I'm Vaj,
I'm Eric.
I'm Matt.
and we'll see you next time.